Hello Year 4 and welcome to your maths learning for this week. White Rose don't have any videos for you this week to look at, so once again I'm going to be helping you out with a couple of videos to get you through your statistics learning, because we would be learning all about statistics and data at this point in Year 4. Now, we have visited data before. We do know a little bit about data, and I know that this year in Year 4 we have already had to create and present data in a bar chart for science, and we've had to interpret that data as well to draw our conclusions. So I thought we'd just start by looking at some examples of different ways that data is presented or information is presented as tables, charts or graphs. Now, some of these will be familiar to you. We can see here that there is a bar chart, and the bar chart shows data, and we have to be really careful when we're presenting data on a bar chart that we think carefully about the scale, and also when we're interpreting data, when we're looking at it. And interpreting data just means looking at it and working out what the table, chart or graph is showing us, and then being able to use that information to answer questions about it. So we're going to be doing some of that. We're also going to be presenting some data. We're also going to be drawing some data, and that could be in the form of a pictogram or a bar chart or a line graph, which is going to be our new learning for this sort of topic. So we're going to be looking at line graphs, which is new. So we're going to move on, and I just want to have a look at some of these different ways that data is presented. And we're quite familiar with a bar chart. We've seen that in Year 2 and in Year 3. And like I say, we've already done some work on that in Year 4. And we're going to talk about those in a little bit more detail. There's a pie chart on there. So pie charts are broken into sections, into segments, and each segment represents some data category. So this is a pie chart to show children's favourite colours, and we can see the most popular colour is blue, and the least popular colour on there, well, it looks like it's a tie between green and purple. We're also going to be looking at tallies and frequency tables, and we know that when we are tallying, we tally in groups of 5 because that makes it easier for us to count. Imagine that you were having to count bees that are visiting your garden or a particular area in your garden. Instead of writing down 1 bee, 2 bees, 3 bees, you would use a tally to tally up the total amount. We've seen pictograms before, definitely in Year 2, and the important thing with those is we need to think about the key, and I've circled the key here in orange, and we can see that one circle is equal to 2 children. So therefore, if we've got half a circle, if we've got a semicircle, that's going to be half of 2, which is 1. And our new learning is going to be line graphs, so we're going to have a look at those in a lot more detail in session 3. So straight on to looking at a pictogram then. So here's our pictogram, and we can see this pictogram quite clearly is telling us all about ice creams. The key is important, so make sure you find it and make sure you look at it. So we can see that 1 whole ice cream cone is equivalent to 2 ice creams. So we're going to have to count in 2s, okay, when we're counting. So thinking about what would represent 1 ice cream. So how would we show 1 ice cream? If a whole is 2 ice creams, how would we show 1? Okay, so let's move on. So we can see that we've got the ice cream flavours down here on the left hand side of the table, and the number of ice creams sold in the right hand side by the pictures. And if we just look at part C, we want to think about how many chocolate ice creams are being sold. So therefore, we just need to look at the chocolate row, and here's the chocolate row. So I'm going to look at it, I'm going to interpret the data, I'm going to read it, I'm going to see what it tells me, okay? There's an important remember coming up here. Remember that key, okay? We are going to have to count in 2s. You can do that, you're brilliant at it. So, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So the total number of ice creams that were sold were 12. And we're going to pop that in the little box there on our sheet. Or if you're just doing it on a piece of paper, just do it on a piece of paper. So I want you to stop now and have a go at the rest of the questions for question 1. We're going to have to complete, which means we're going to have to do some drawing to show 7 mint chocolate chip ice creams were sold. Right, we're going to move on and we're going to look at a different type of representation. Now we're going to look at a bar chart. Okay, and this bar chart shows us the number of children who went on holiday to some different countries. Now when we're thinking about bar charts, there are some important things that we need to consider as well when we're looking and we're interpreting the data. You can see here along the horizontal axis, the x-axis, that this tells us the countries that the children have visited. And we've got Spain, France, USA, UK and Italy. Whereas the y-axis, the vertical axis, the one that goes up and down, that tells us the number of children. We need to look really carefully at the scale here. And I can see that this scale on the y-axis, on the vertical axis, is going up in 2s. All right? So we're going to need to think about that. So it's going up in 2s. Just let you have a look at that for a minute. I'm thinking now, I'm thinking. It's my little thought bubble. So I can see it's going up in 2s, but what's going to be between 0 and 2? Have a little think about that. That's going to help you. What's going to be there in between the 0 and the 2? And similarly, what's going to be between the 2 and the 4? We're going to have to complete the table. We're going to need to use the information in the bar chart to do that. So it's asking us the country Spain. Here's Spain on the bar chart. And we need to know the number of children that visited. So we're going to have to look at the top of the bar chart. Okay, we're going to look on the y-axis. We need the number of children. So I'm counting in 2s. The top of my bar chart is there. Therefore, the number of children that visited Spain were 8. So I'm going to get you to pause the video now. And you can have a go at filling in the rest of the table using the information from the bar chart. Remember that thought bubble. What's going to be between 0 and 2? What's going to be between 6 and 8? What's going to be between 12 and 14? Okay, moving on then. Right. So here we can see something a little bit different. We've got a mixture of pictograms here and a mixture of bar charts. And we did something similar to this last week, and we're going to have to match the tables, and these are the tables. We've got a table for class A, one for class B, one for class C, and one for class D. And we're going to have to match those tables to the charts underneath, and here are all the different charts. So we've got 4 tables, 4 charts, and we're going to have to match them. Okay, we've got pictograms, like I said, and we've got bar charts. Remember, with pictograms, it's important to look at the key, and bar charts, it's important to look at the scale, to look at that x-axis, to work out what the increments are, what the little sections and segments are. Just going to write that down here to remind you. Fantastic, right. So we're just going to have a look at one. Okay, and we're going to look at class A. Now, I don't need to look at all the information at once. I can start by just looking at the dog part of each of those charts underneath. And I can see from the table that the favourite animal in class A, 8 children said that their favourite animal was a dog. So now I'm going to look at the charts underneath, and I can see in this first chart that the dog, there was only 4 children. So I'm going to reject that one. I know that that one can't possibly be right. When I look at the pictogram, I can see that each one of those squares is 4 children, and I know that 4 plus 4 is 8. So it could be that one. When I look at the next chart, I can see that the line there is 5, but my dog bar is below the 5, so I can see that there's less than 5 children that had dog as their favourite, so I'm going to reject that one. And again, in this last one with the pictogram, I've got 8 children again that like dogs. So I've rejected 2, but I've still got 2 possible answers. So I'm going to have a look at the next bit of my table, and I'm going to have to match it to the chart. I can see that in Class A there are 2 children that like cats. I'm just going to draw a couple of pictures down here that are going to help us think about this key. So I know that 1 whole square, when it's coloured in, is equal to 4 children. If I've only got half of a square shaded, just going to show you what I mean. If I've only got half shaded, then that's going to equal half of 4, which is going to equal 2. So if I've got a whole square and a half of one, that's going to be 4 add 2, which is 6. So let's have a look here. I can see that I've only got half of a square. So I know that equals 2 children. And on this one, I've got the same. So it could still be either one of these bar charts, either one of these pictograms. So I'm going to have to go to the rabbit. Okay. I want you to have a go. I want you to have a think about it. I've given you a start. You might need to think about those whole squares equaling 4 children and what the different representations of that look like on your pictogram. So can you find the matching charts? That's your challenge here. Okay. Fantastic. And that's it for our first session. So we're interpreting, we are reading graphs and able to answer questions from them, and we're going to have to present some data. We're going to have to draw it. So enjoy session 1 and come back and join me for session 2, where we're going to be doing some more comparing and we're going to be looking at the sum and the difference.